Okay, so here is the video on the second passage of the IELTS reading test. Let's do this. Okay, so here is the video for reading passage 2 of the IELTS reading test. Of course, first we're going to start by looking at the instructions for the reading passage. Not the instructions to the questions, but just the passage here. 20 minutes. But of course, after preparing, you should already know that. Okay, so let's start with the title. Falkirk Wheel, a unique engineering achievement. Okay, so Falkirk could be the name of a person, could be the name of a place, we don't know yet. But it's some kind of engineering marvel. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 paragraphs to deal with today. Okay, as always, we're going to be looking at the first sentence. Okay, so here we see the wheel refers to a boat lift. Second paragraph, topic sentence. Here they talk about the location. Okay, so we could say that the first paragraph really only gives us some background information. So we can note this down on our question sheet. It doesn't matter if we work on the question sheet. For the second paragraph, we can note down location. That seems to be the topic here. Okay, let's move on to paragraph 3. Numerous ideas were submitted, including concept change from rolling eggs to giant sea claws to overhead monorails. Okay, so this paragraph seems to be concerned with the concepts that were proposed before construction started. Then when we go to the next paragraph, the various parts of the Falkirk wheel will construct and assemble like one big giant toy building set. Okay, so here moves on to construction. Don't worry about making notes on your question sheet. It's perfectly fine. Then when we go on to the last paragraph, the wheel consists of 2 sets of opposing axe-shaped arms. Okay, so each with a capacity of 360,000 liters. Okay, so this seems to be some sort of general description. General description, let's move on to the next one. Boats needing to be lifted up. Enter the canal basin at the level of the Forth and Clyde Canal, and then blah, blah, blah. We don't need to read the whole sentence. Let's change this to red. Okay, so this paragraph seems to have to do with the operation of the wheel. And the remaining 11 meters of lift needed to reach the Union Canal is achieved by. So this just seems to be additional information in the last paragraph. Okay, now as we were trying to see what the topic sentences for each paragraph was, or maybe afterwards. We can go ahead and look at some numbers and words that stand out. So here we have a number, here we have a proper noun, here we have Forth and Clyde and Union Canals. Here we have 11 locks, Falkirk. Here we have a bunch of dates. 1.5 kilometers, those stand out. Falkirk Wheel, well, we wouldn't want to highlight that, as that is the item that the whole article is about. Engineering Steelworks, some more numbers, 1,200, 10. This article is quite dense with numbers, a lot of them. The wheel here refers, of course, to the Falkirk wheel. That's why wheel is capitalized. So we're not going to bother with that. Here we have 25 meters. Here we have some liters, kilowatt hours, temperature, 1/8. 24 meters. Okay, here we have a proper noun, Antonin Wall, 35 meters, Romans, and Union Canal. Okay, now we can go and have a look at our questions. Oh, it's a hard one. True, false, not given. Especially the not given ones can be a little bit tricky. Okay, so let's look at this. The Falkirk wheel has linked the Forth and Clyde Canal with the Union Canal for the first time in their history. Okay, well, we already saw these names. Let's try that again. We already saw these names in the first paragraph, so we know where to look for the answer. Now, the other important word here, phrase here, is first time. So let's go look in the first paragraph, see if we can find something about that. Okay, so here are the names. If we look at the sentence, we see the phrase reconnecting. Well, if it's being reconnected, it can't be for the first time, right? Let's go to 15. There was some opposition to the design of the Falkirk wheel at first. Okay, at first, well, that sounds like it would be when the whole idea was being conceived. So let's look here. Numerous ideas, eventual winner. Well, I don't see anything here about specifically opposition, so I would guess that the answer is not given. But I don't want to spend too much time looking for the answer, so I will leave this open. If I have time left, I will double check to see if the answer is in fact not given. If I don't have time, I will just go with not given. Let's go to 16. Initially put together at the location where its components were manufactured. Okay, so we have location and manufactured. Location and manufactured. Okay, so location here, manufactured here. Let's see, location. I don't see any words here that could be a synonym for manufacture. So let's go look at the construction paragraph. Okay, here we have constructed and assembled in the very first sentence. Okay, in the same location. So, the answer to number 16 would then be true, because it is the same location. Okay, let's move on to the next question. 17. The Falkirk wheel is the only boat lift in the world which has steel sections bolted together by hand. So that would have to do with the construction. If we look for by hand, I don't see anything there. Okay, so for this question, first glance, the answer seems to be not given. So I will do the same as I did with 15. If I have time at the end, I will go double check, but for now, I would just assume that the answer is not given. Let's go to 18. The weight of the gondolas vary according to the size of the boat being carried. So this is about boats. Here, right at the end, we see the phrase we're looking for, gondolas. So let's go and have a look at the next part. Each with a capacity. Okay, so here's this term that we highlighted before. Each with a capacity. Well, if the capacity of each is the same, then the answer must be false, because it doesn't vary. It's the same capacity. Okay, then number 19. The construction of the Falkirk wheel site took into account the presence of a nearby ancient monument. Well, I can remember we looked at the Romans here. In the last paragraph, we highlighted this phrase. Could not be owing to the presence of the historically important Antonine Wall, which was built by the Romans. So it seems that the answer to number 19 is true. Okay, let's go back to question. Let's go to the next section. Before we go back to the possible not given answers, let's just finish this. Labeling the diagram. So we can expect the answers to be in order. So we will find 20 before we find 21. How a boat is lifted, let's try that again. How a boat is lifted on the Falkirk wheel. Well, we saw boats here. So let's see. This would be the paragraph where we would expect to find the answers. A pair of blah 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 are lifted in order to shut out water from the canal basin. A pair. So let's see here. Okay, here we have the phrase seal off. Let's make this green. To seal off, what is being used? Two hydraulic steel gates. Now, if you look at our instructions for all of these questions, one word. Okay, so we have a choice. Hydraulic steel gates. Okay, of course we're going to go with gates, since hydraulic and steel only describe the noun. Okay, let's go 21. Something is taken out, enabling the wheel to rotate. So we would expect to find this answer underneath the place where we found the answer to 20. Well, and here it is, allowing the wheel to turn. And something is removed. Let's see here, hydraulic clamp. Okay, so again, hydraulic is only describing the noun clamp. So we're going to go with clamp. Okay, 22. Hydraulic motors drive 22 something something. Hydraulic motors. Okay, so here's hydraulic motors. Akin to. Okay, we don't have drive, but we do have the word rotate. Now, are rotate and drive synonyms? Well, in the context of a motor, I would say so, since the motor rotates. So, let's look at this here. Let's see here. So what is being rotated? The central axle. Okay, so again, central just describes axle, so we're going to go with axle as our answer. Mostly nouns again. This I'm going to ignore. Let's go to this. A range of different size something something ensures the boat keeps upright. Upright, different size. A range. A range. Okay, so let's see. Keep the boats upright. Well, here we have upright position. So it seems it could be simple gearing system. But if we look at the question, it says a range of different size. And here, there's no mention of different sized. So that doesn't seem to be the right one. 2 8-meter wide. Okay, so here is something about size, cogs. Fixed inner cog of same width. Here we have smaller cogs. And here we have another way of saying they remain in the same position. They always remain level. So the noun we're looking for is cogs, since they are the things that are of different sizes. Okay, boat reaches top wheel, then moves directly onto reaches top wheel. Okay. When they're going to reach the top. Okay, so here we have top. When the gondola reaches the top, the boat passes straight onto an aqueduct. Passes straight onto an aqueduct. Moves directly onto. Okay, so we have some paraphrasing going on here. Passes straight onto. Same thing, really. Okay, 25. Boat travels through tunnel beneath Roman. Well, of course we can remember where Roman is. So let's see. Last paragraph, Roman. Improved wall, which is built by the Romans. Is it underneath? Can it be constructed to elevate the wall? Okay, so under this wall. This, of course, referring to this one. So yeah, so under the wall. So our answer is going to be wall. Under the wall. And question 26. 11 meters. Okay, that should be easy to find. Something raises the boat 11 meters. Okay, let's see what does that. 11. Okay, so here's 11 in our topic sentence. It's achieved by means of a pair of locks. Okay, question says, well, they just use the verb raise here. Okay, here we have lift, raise, same meaning. Okay, so here at the end, right at the end, I'm including some tips on visual representation of data and also just some general tips on the reading section of the IELTS test. I hope this is useful. Well, I hope you found the tips useful. If the text is a little bit difficult to read, I'm also putting it up on the website. Hope it's useful.